Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Also, Michael in the chat coming in saying, time to trade Brady. We have enough proof that it's not the coaches, but the core players are the problem. Brady is still too immature to be the leader, and it's rubbing way too much on the other players. Now, I won't go so far as to say trade Brady yet, especially because there still is a chance at maybe turning the season around, but there is something to be said about the immaturity. I think it was after the Oilers lost, and Brady himself said that the team is still too immature overall. He used that word specifically. And it's another loss here tonight. You do have to wonder about that aspect. It's hard to question the leadership of your captain when he's just been on a losing team and it's not really his fault for his whole career as captain, because he's been one of our best players constantly, and it's really the surrounding pieces around him, right, that have made it difficult to get wins. So I don't think I can question his leadership yet, but you do have to wonder. We were talking in the first segment today about how this team really struggles to overcome any adversity, whether it be throughout the whole schedule on the season or within games with certain moments. I don't know where I'm heading with this, but just to throw to you in terms of like Brady's leadership, what do you see? What do you think?
Well, I mean, to comment on that, on the comment from the chat, like, I don't think it's outrageous to at least consider the possibility of trading a core player.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting to that point now. Like, we're on, like, this is year 8, guys. Like, we can't do this forever. I am not on the trade Brady train. I'm not there yet. I don't think he's the problem. In terms of leadership, like, he gets after it every game. I've never seen Brady take a night off. And, you can say what you want about he has to kind of draw his team into the battle as well. And I guess that's easier said than done. But I just look at, like, I don't know. He's such a unique unicorn player where if you trade him, first of all, you're losing that trade. It doesn't matter who you get back. Like, that's a sunk cost. And then you have to replace that huge hole in your lineup.
That's the thing. Like, we can question leadership from Brady all we want, but if you trade him, who's taking over as the leadership, right?
Exactly.
Like, there's not really anyone else behind him other than Giroux. And if you're trading Brady, you're probably also trading Giroux,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't trade Brady. I mean, but I mean, like, I agree with the comment in the sense of, like, we have to look at the options here now.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Nothing's off the table.
I think it's fair to say that no one is untouchable at this point. Like, obviously, Tkachuk, Stützle, Sanderson are as close as you can get to untouchable, but it's at the point where if the team still keeps losing, you have to consider all options, and like any phone calls that come to you from any GMs, you might as well talk to them because you never know. But yeah, in terms of trading Tkachuk specifically, I think that's the management is going to be really reluctant to do that, mainly because we saw what happened when his brother got traded from Calgary.
Yeah,
like
that's scar tissue.
He returned a boatload of assets for the Flames, but the Flames were not a better team after making that trade, and the Panthers certainly were. We saw how well that played. So giving a Tkachuk player a change of scenery could very much benefit them, but historically it won't necessarily benefit the team that's actually trading him away. So I think they would be a little bit apprehensive just because of that. Like, you would get a haul for Brady, but the only way I would ever do it is if he himself demanded a trade. Like, if the losing gets so bad that he demands a trade, I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah.
But it's you don't do it until you absolutely have to, I think. There is something to be said for, I guess, trading a player before they're at their lowest value. Sometimes when a player demands a trade, then people say, like, oh, well, they have to get rid of them. They're not going to get anything back now. But I think with a guy like Brady, you go as long as you can to try to make it work, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, he says it publicly all the time. Like, I want to win here. And I don't think he's lying. Like, I know players like to play the media and all that, but, like, I think he's in it for the long haul, man. Like, I don't think Brady is demanding a trade. I'd be really, really surprised. And another thing, like, so let's say that you trade Brady. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 trade. You can't really do that. So chances are it's going to look like the Carlson trade, which I know worked out really well. Or, like, I don't mean the exact trade, but it's going to be a conglomeration of picks and maybe not prospects, but roster players. And I know that the Karlsson trade ended up working out quite well for the Sens, but that's not really a strategy that you can bank on frequently. Like, I'm going to trade this star player for a bag of goodies and hope that some of them hit.
Yeah, especially because like the Karlsson trade, you couldn't have predicted San Jose's fall off to get a Stützle with that draft pick. If you make another trade like that, it's unlikely that the team you're trading with is going to have that big of a fall off again.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't think it's in their best interest to trade Brady. And honestly, if they were thinking of doing that, I don't think that's a mid-season decision. Like, that's going to be like, what I will say is, if the Sens, crash and burn this year, someone in the offseason, a core player is getting traded. I can almost guarantee that would happen. I don't think it's going to be Brady, but I think they would consider it. And I think you're more likely to see like a Norris move. A Stützle I don't think is going anywhere. He's the most skilled player on the team. And like I said, he's still he's not even, he's 22, 22 years old. Like, that would be a major mistake. But I think you would be looking at trading Batherson, trading a Norris. I think you'd look at Chabot if you can trade the contract. But I think that's a summer conversation.
Yeah, I agree. And Isaac in the chat also saying, we fired the GM, fired the coach, and brought in support players. If the Sens can't get it done this year, you got to look at that core. I think that's right. If we don't get anywhere this year, then you start to consider it. But I agree with you, Adam, that it's more likely to be a guy like Norris or Batherson. In terms of if you want a locker room shakeup, Norris and Tkachuk are best friends. Not saying that you need to split them up and that's why that's a problem or anything, but maybe that could be, instead of going to trade Tkachuk first, maybe try trading Norris for a shakeup first instead. Maybe, I don't know, like, if we're going to shake up the core, I think of what you would want is, I remember back, it's probably like almost 10 years ago now, but when Columbus traded Ryan Johansson for Seth Jones, that type of a trade is what you would want ideally, where it's a guy who's on the come up as like a young top six forward and a guy who's on the come up as a young top 4D. It was and they both kind of needed a change of scenery, and that ended up working out well for both teams. I think if we are to shake up a core, you would want to look for something like that, where another team that's has higher expectations that they haven't met, maybe you can do a shakeup. Like, I don't know, if Buffalo misses the playoffs again, maybe we can do a swap with one of their young core players, something like that. Or like, obviously Nashville is off to a rough start. There are teams that you can make deals with, but I think ideally you would want to look for that like 1-for-1 type thing.
Yeah, Buffalo's funny because, I mean, you'd be just trading a loser for a loser.
Yeah,
so I don't know what that accomplishes.
and then hope that it would finally work out. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, that comment, I think, brings up a really important point, which is the players now have no shield.
Yeah.
This is, and everybody knows it, it's 100% on them. And if they can't get it done, they're going to have to answer for that, probably in the form of one or more of them moving. And that's why I was like, coming into this season, I didn't put I used to, like, the 2 years previous, I'd be like, Sens are playoff team. I think we're gonna make the playoffs. And this year I didn't do that. I was like, I want the Sens to impress me. Like, I want to be pleasantly surprised by what I see, because I'm expecting the same thing, because I've not seen anything else. And nothing to sway my opinion. And up to this point, I can't say that I'm super impressed. Like, I'm certainly not pleasantly surprised at 8, 10, and 1 or whatever they are. But I mean, you have to look at this bigger picture. If they win 3 games in a row, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's true. They just need to figure out how to do it. They need to figure out how to win more than 2 in a row. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, but it can turn on a dime, man. We've seen it. Like, they just lost 4 straight. Before that, they were feeling all right. Like, they were above 500. Everyone was like, this is great. Like, Detroit sucks, Boston sucks, Buffalo sucks. Like, we're gonna do it. So I don't know, like, all you can do is just hope that they can pull it together. And a lot of it is like the mental stuff we were talking about, but I'm not going to say I'm confident that they'll do it, but it's up, like, they have the ability and the power and the opportunity to surprise people. And I hope that they do it.
I think that's a good note to end things off here tonight. Yeah. In terms of this game and the 4-game losing streak, I am feeling very negative about the team, but I'm also trying to remain positive. I think you put it in a good way, that if they can actually get on a winning streak, which they have trouble doing, if they can do it, they do still have a chance, because the East and the Atlantic Division is one big, like, just glut of teams all being within a point or two of each other. Like, Boston fired their coach while one game below 500, and they were still third in the division at that point. So it's like, it's there for the taking if this team can get their shit together, basically. So hopefully we can get some of that, and it's going to have to start, if it's going to happen, it's going to have to start next game against Vancouver, where we will be having a Game Over crossover episode with the Game Over Vancouver crew. I believe it will be Damian Smith hosting that night. It will be on our channel since it's a home game for the Sens, and I think Kaya from Game Over Vancouver will be joining. So look forward to that as our next show. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Adam. It was a fun episode.
Yep, that was awesome. I wish we could have talked about a win, but you got to switch something up. I know you were saying that you were getting unlucky with the ones that you were hosting, so maybe change the routine next time and get the Sens a win.
It's brutal at this point. I'm 2-5, and the first two games were the wins. So
yeah, that's rough.
It's a tough one. So
yeah.
Hopefully the Sens can turn it around. Thank you everyone so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, share this to your friends, and have a good night.